In this video, we're going to go through the contract creation process, including the ability to track content changes to contracts, as well as the ability to set follow-up workflow for future actions on contracts after they're completed. It all starts, we create a new contract, we enter in our contract name, and we pick our contract type, which is really just a grouping of commonalities among contracts. We choose our template, which then populates our contract content. We need to update the dynamic fields that go into the contract. So this is going to populate customer name, address, whatever fields, wherever they're marked within the contract, and they can be one or many places. So instead of having to find and replace or leaving old language in a contract, you're ensured that everything gets updated with the appropriate information as long as the contract template is set up appropriately. So we'll complete setting that up. And now we can associate metadata tags. So these are reportable fields that we want to have about the contract that may not necessarily be in the contract. Now we're going to send this for review as our first step, and we pick out the name and the email that we're going to send it to, as well as the recipient signatory and our internal signatory. And we can add notes if we choose to. And submit. We can send it out as a Word or PDF. Obviously with Word, that gives the ability in common contracts to track changes and do the negotiation process external from AnaPact, as most people would do. Coming in, we'll see that we have the contract sent as a Word document for review. So now the other person can review it in a Word document. They can suggest changes and send it back. Once you finalize that version of the contract, or you think you finalized it, you can come in and edit this contract, and it'll warn you that it's still under negotiation. And we can come in here and we can actually change the document. Now you could of course copy and paste, but then you lose some of that contract tracking. We recommend that you actually change just the components that have changed within the document. And of course, you can store that Word document elsewhere. You could store it inside of AnaPact, but we feel that this is the best way to be able to truly show the original contract that was sent out and then the final version that was actually signed and agreed to by all parties. Okay. Once we've gone through and changed everything, click OK. And now we're ready to mark this as completed from that status. So it's been reviewed, it's done, we have finished the negotiation of that contract, and now we're going to go through the signature process and the completion of this contract, as well as setting up future workflow states for it. So it takes a moment here, it's actually sending that out, it's committing and tracking all of the changes that we've made to the contract. And you'll notice that our email has been sent, so we have a contract ready to sign. So we can come in here. We agree to terms and conditions because we're the recipient signatory, we're not the internal signer. Assign that document, complete. And now it's going to go to the the internal signatory in this case. So that's saving and actually moving to the next step of the workflow. It's sending it out. You'll notice the status has changed from negotiation to action pending. And if we come in here and look at our contract, we'll notice that in our audit trail, we have that contract content was updated. And here we'll see our old content as well as the new content. And we can simply scroll down. It's very similar to what you see in a red line. and we can see what changed. Okay. Easy to highlight. The red was what was deleted, green was what was added. Okay. And coming back into our email, we can now complete this contract, signing as the internal signatory. Okay. Let's sign that document, completing it. The external signatory is going to receive a PDF copy of the document. If we come in here and we refresh this contract within AnaPact, you'll notice that our metadata fields that we set upon initiation, we'll go look at this contract. Here is completed, contract completed, and you can download the contract via this link. It's always accessible to the person. See the signatures at the end, as well as the signature date. Coming back into the contract now, you'll notice that we can add metadata field after the fact for additional reporting elements. So if there's things within the contract that you forgot to tag on the front end, you can add them at any point. And now we can also set workflow to say, hey, follow up and review this renewal in 90 days, 360 days, or review 30 days before renewal. We can set follow up here. We can add additional steps as well. Okay. And since I set that for today, it's going to send a note and set the status of it as pending review. And there's the user gets an email saying contract's been sent for review. So I'm going to change my profile here by logging out and logging in because I assigned it to a separate person. Get logged in here. And I don't have a dashboard set up for that user, which is why it was blank. I can come in. It's this user under my contracts. If I go to my approval queue, right, see that it's review pending. Can take a look at the contract, all the metadata elements. And I have two steps. I can say I reviewed it for compliance. I can enter additional notes, and I can say it passed. So if something reviews but it doesn't necessarily pass, you can just say I reviewed it and set a follow-up date. In this case, we're saying it did pass, and we're going to set a follow-up date in the future. And then we can put additional comments in there as well. Notice it's not in our approval queue anymore. If we look at our contracts, it is completed, and on that initial date, it'll go back out for review. So that's how we can track contract changes as well as review workflow after a contract has actually been completed.